Okay, so I told you guys that I am not asking you to do anything that I'm not doing with regard to accountability metrics. I started using this technique and this tool as a tactic while I was in jail. And it helped me immensely, as you can see, right? You can see that it helped me open relationships with mentors because I documented what I said I was going to do. I turned it into a little pamphlet or a book. I used to call it my prison portfolio of the work I'm doing. It's effectively like a resume. And I'd send it out and people would come into my life. But that, because I used that through more than 9,000 days in jails and prisons, I had a massive library of documentation that I used to open new opportunities and new relationships. Well, I can tell you, since working with you guys inside of the prison and inside of the Mecklenburg jail, I can tell you it's probably been much more fulfilling for me than it has been for you. I don't know. I mean, for me, it's really something I enjoy because I wanted to do this while I was in there. The problem is, how do you break through and get this into every jail and every prison in America? I really believe that this is a tool and a tactic that can, well, not only help me be the change that I want to see in the world, which is people coming out of jails and prisons and being successful, but I also think it can make society safer and communities safer, and I think it can end some of the, or at least contribute to some of the problems that I see in society right now, where people are rioting because they're upset and they feel the pains of institutional racism, or they feel the pains of mass incarceration, or they feel the pains of an unfair society. And I think that with more than 2 million people locked up in jails and prisons across America, we've got to bring this message inside, because there are, if there are millions of people unemployed out here, I always believe that it's my brothers that are locked up that are going to have a really hard time. And we've got to change the mindset of people in jails and prisons. But it's going to be really hard for me to scale this. I've got all this amazing content, and I want to produce it every single day. But how do I get it in there, right? So I have to think about that. And the way that I'd really like to do it is to do it for free, meaning no jail or prison has to pay a nickel, no prisoner has to pay a nickel. And so I have to think, well, how will I do that? Just like you, Johnny, have to think, if you want to create a school, an apprenticeship program to teach people, you have to know that those people are not going to be able to pay you because they're on the corner hustling and they don't have any money, and they're not going to have money to pay a tuition or a fee, but you still have to take care of yourself. So you've got to be thinking the same way I have to be thinking. I want to do this for free, but I can only give so much time to it, and it costs money to produce this. It costs money to host the videos. It costs money to use a platform to deliver the videos. It costs money to edit and do all these things that costs money. So you've got to figure out, how do you do that? How do I solve that problem? And Johnny, you've got to solve that problem. And the way I can tell you the way I intend to do it is I'm recording everything. And so part of that recording is saying, okay, I've got a spreadsheet. And that spreadsheet will have a title to every video that I've made. It will have a URL, meaning somebody can click the link and see what it is. It can say, how long is the video? So this is a 15-minute segment. So like that's a documented thing. This is what I tried to teach during that segment. And I create that bundle, that course of things. Now I can go to businesses and I can say, we have a social problem in America. We have people who spend time in jail that when they get out of jail, they have a hard time getting employed. And I want to change that. I want to change that so that people who have gone through this program, they're going to come out with their own accountability metrics. They're going to be able to say what they have done, And if they do that, when they come to interview for a job here, you're going to see that they're different from what you would expect because they're driven. They've got a documented strategy. And they've got the tools and the tactics that they developed. And they've got these measurement tools to show you how they really changed their life while they were locked inside of a jail and a prison. And so if they can do that, I tell the employers, they are less likely to be unemployable. And if they're unemployable and they get a job that they want, like Ryan, who wants to be a welder, okay, they're more likely to rise up the ladder in their career. And if they do that, they're going to be less likely to be on this treadmill of failure that really our nation's jail and prison system has been running for a long time, where if we expose somebody to jail or prison, they become less likely to get employed, less likely to get housing. Those people then feel marginalized, and then the domino effect just keeps going. They don't get a job, they revert to behavior that puts them back in prison, and then taxpayers say, you see, I told them we should have never let them out, and then their kids get in trouble, and it just becomes this cycle that I want to change, and I want you guys to help me change. But I have to live in the world as it exists, and the world as it exists is it's very hard to get government contracts. Very hard. So how do I do it? Well, I had a conversation with the CEO today, and he asked me, well, how do you intend to do it? How do you intend to break that problem? And I'll say, I want you to help me. Just like I told you guys, reach out and ask for help. And he said, well, I don't run a jail and I don't run a prison. How can I help? And I said, look, you employ more than 1,000 people in your organization. 1,000 people, okay? Your payroll, and I just kind of do the math on my own. I said, if you pay even an average of $15 an hour, which is like what probably the average big employer pays, I said, you're paying $15,000 an hour and just in labor, $15,000 an hour. I said, you can afford to spend maybe $500 a month to sponsor this program because I can give it away. For every sponsorship you buy, I can give it away for free to a jail or a prison, and I will produce new content every single day. I said, would that be something that you could do? If I can show you how the guys in one jail are responding, this starts to spread. Now it doesn't cost the state anything. It doesn't cost prisoners anything. It doesn't cost you too much. It's $500 a month. That's like a rounding error, okay? But if I can get 100 businesses to do that, now I can give this away for free. And that is how I hold it accountable. That's not going to happen if I don't create these. I've got to invest in myself first. I've got to invest in building all the assets and showing the people I can do it. Then I have to go to conventions and be a speaker at the conventions and talk about what happens in jails and prisons and why people, get in trouble or why people don't participate in programs. And I hope why formerly incarcerated people, like profiling, other guys who've gone through the system and what they've done, can teach and inspire people. And if I can do that, that becomes a stepping stone. And it's a stepping stone that I hope will give guys in jails and prisons a lesson that they can use to grow. That's how I use an accountability metric. And now that's like a 10-minute segment on how I am using an accountability metric to advance the prospect of me going out and finding 100 businesses across the nation that will provide $500 a month that will allow me to deliver this for free to 500 jails and prisons or to 100 jails and prisons across the nation for free. That's a goal. Will I succeed? I don't know. But I know it's something I can measure, and it's a tool I can develop. And if I'm willing to work really hard at it, I can make a case. So I'd like to be thinking about what kind of case can you be making? And let's talk about that if anybody wants to come up. I'm going to pause because I know that you guys have a break in 9 minutes. If nobody comes up, I have something else to say, but I'd love to hear from anybody who wants to contribute. Because if you do contribute, you're actually going to help me make this case to businesses of talking about what you're learning from this process.